Good morning, everybody. My name's Jed Garfield, and I'm here with my partner, Richard Pretzfelder. We run the firm Leslie J. Garfield and Company. We are specialists in the sale of townhouses here in New York City. As our guest today is an outstanding attorney by the name of Rob Frankel. I think of our jobs as being very simple, but they're only simple because we use people like Rob, who is just makes transactions easy. He's been in the legal business for numerous years and has specialized both in the sale of luxury real estate and specifically in townhouses, certainly for us. And we thought we'd speak to him today about some of his thoughts, ideas, notions in this COVID time. And to that end, I'm going to turn it over to Rick for the sort of beginning of the interview.
Well, thanks, Jed. As Jed said, Rob and his partner, Bruce Cohen, are, the preeminent, I think, boutique law firm in the city handling real estate transactions. But given your position as really high-end successful lawyers, we thought it would be interesting for you to share your perspective, what's going on with the market with our clients. So maybe that's where we can start, Jed. Rob, tell us what you're thinking, what you're seeing out there.
Hi. Well, let me just tell you a little bit about my firm first and my practice. As you said, we're a real estate transactional boutique firm, and we just handle transactions. We do co-ops, condos, and townhouses. I have taken the horn, I definitely do a lot more townhouses. They're much more interesting property than co-ops and condos. And the transactions are meatier and more challenging for a lawyer. So that's our firm. I've been practicing real estate transactions for over 25 years. We do anywhere from $1 million transaction to a $75-80 million transaction. And we're comfortable in all price points, but we generally do the higher end stuff. This year started very, very well for townhouses. Prices had adjusted over the last few years, and both seller and buyer finally started meeting at some point in the middle, and contracts were flowing. I was doing I was doing more volume in townhouses than I had been doing in quite some time. So during the pandemic, there was many less contracts drawn and executed. It has picked up now in the past month, and I'm doing more. I put a couple of townhouses into contract, and more apartments, but not to the extent of pre-pandemic, but more. A few people who had mortgage contingencies have rejection letters on those mortgages and have gotten out of the deals. I suspect, I don't know if it was loss of income or some other reason, but it seemed that more contracts broke when they were contingent on financing during the pandemic period. It may have to do with that value of townhouses and any apartment are more up in the air and not concrete, as there have not been that many pieces of real estate that have gone into contract. So it's a little bit more up in the air. So people were more skittish, and I think tried to get out of the deals legally if they could, and figured they'd reboot when the market started back up this summer.
Yeah, just to pick up on what you said before, just pre-COVID, we tracked the bid-ask spread, and we had actually seen the bid-ask spread shrink down to 1.5% before the virus hit, from a high of
that makes sense to me.
Right. So from a high of 29.5% down to 1.5%, we were basically at equilibrium between buyers and sellers, as you suggested. And
that's why we started both doing so much more business.
Exactly. So now we're in a world where we don't know where the data is on pricing and everything. But I am curious as to, are you seeing I know we're working on a deal together where we've got some DOB issues, and that process has been slowed down. So I'm curious, DOB, mortgage contingencies, bank financing. Can you talk about the cycle of deals and how long they're taking right now?
Yes. So I would say that the extension, the length of time has definitely increased for signing contracts to, I would say, 3 weeks or so. It used to be 1 to 2 weeks. Now I would say it's more like 2 to 3 weeks, possibly even longer. Buyers aren't moving fast. We can't really put pressure on the buyer and say, we have 3 offers and, you know, you're going to lose the deal if you don't sign. So it's a little bit more lengthy of a process to have the buyer sign.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a sense of, when you look back on the 25 years that you've been practicing real estate law, have you seen a change in the complexion of the type of people that are buying, or is it fairly just standard? I mean, obviously they're well off, but are there industries that have risen or fallen for, you know, as long as you've been doing it, or is it pretty much the same types of customers year in, year out?
Yeah, I would say that we're finance heavy. And so finance heavy has been my whole 25-year experience. The townhouse market, I more or less felt that it was strong in the local buying community, New Yorkers, or people
Yes.
from other states would buy, but they were coming here to live. So more primary residence buyers in the townhouse marketplace than in the apartment marketplace.
Right.
But I haven't seen a major change in the buyer. Typically, families lended itself more to the townhouse market. I'm interested to see. I have one point to make regarding specifically the pandemic and the era that we're in. Since crowds and space is important to the spread of this virus, and more space, the better. Townhouses have a big advantage over apartments, even deluxe, beautiful apartments in the sky, because people have to get in elevators, people have to deal with the lobby. You're dealing with more people in a apartment building, and the pandemic does not lend itself to being around people. So I think that the townhouse marketplace will have a bump up just from the wealthy people that want to live alone and separate and have their own door and their own family living in one house. So I do think that we should find an uptick in the and maybe that's why we have picked up a little bit already in the townhouse market over the high-end condo market.
So you've been through some crises before, Rob. I'm sure, you know, we had 9/11, we had the Great Recession. If you had to take out your crystal ball.
Okay. This crisis is a little different. 9/11 stopped everybody for a month, and then maybe 2 months. I can't remember the exact time frame. But we all came back, and the pent-up demand surged, and we were extremely busy. The financial disaster also was a moment in time. It took a little bit longer to resume back to status quo, where people continued on and did business at the brisk pace that we're all used to doing business here in Manhattan. Banks were slow to recover, so mortgages were a little slow. Everybody got hurt in the stock market. And as we have a strong financial base here of buyers, they were a little bit slower to come back. But back they did come, and we've had many good years since the financial hit. This pandemic wasn't a one-day thing or a week or a month. This is a hit that we all have taken globally, not just in New York. I do think that Manhattan is a very strong place for real estate. but as we all know, living here and working here, we knew it was the epicenter for the pandemic, and more cases of COVID were here than anywhere else in the world, and more deaths were here than anywhere else in the world. So I think New York is going to take a little bit more time New York City will take a little bit more time to recover till we get the number of transactions and back to speed that we're used to. I'm looking forward to the townhouse market recovering a little bit faster for the reasons that I have previously mentioned, due to having more space and privacy. And the only question mark that I do have is on the high end. I think wealthy people are thinking about whether or not they want to live in Manhattan. And I'm not sure if that has been answered yet.
Okay, well, thanks, Rob, for your insight. It's been great chatting with you. We're going to continue doing these chats with other members of the industry, but you've been insightful, and we appreciate your guidance on what's going on in the legal world.
I love your firm. The brokers that you have at your firm have been doing this a long time, and they are experts in the field of townhouses. And townhouses, I want you guys know, and you've been doing it for so long. You're partners at this firm. I didn't ask you how long you've been practicing, but I know for many years. And to close a townhouse transaction does take some expertise and knowledge. And I find that dealing with your firm and the brokers in your firm, we increase the likelihood of success by a lot. And they, as a whole, we all try to do the right thing by our clients to close the transaction. And I'm very pleased that a firm like yours exists here in New York City, and I'm very pleased to do business with it. So thank you.
Wow, Rob. Well, thank you. That's it's always nice to be well thought of and certainly well spoken of. It really is appreciated, Robin. And I guess I will just finish up by reiterating what I said earlier, which is that, all of these transactions should be and are simple, but they're only simple when you have people like Rob involved in the deal or Rick involved in the deal, because having that little bit of expertise makes a huge difference in the long run. And particularly when you're dealing in the millions and tens of millions of dollars, you really don't want to be dealing with the B team in any of this. So again, thank you, Rob and Rick.
You're
Excellent
welcome.
questions.
You're welcome. Thank you.